Now that we have studied combinatorial, what we are to study is memory elements. So these memory elements all the memory elements we have store only one bit of memory. And if you want large number of bits of memory, you must stack them up to get as many bits of memory as you want. Are you with me? Because each one of these memory elements will only store one bit of memory, bit, not byte. So if you want n number of bits to be stored, you require such memory elements equal to capital N number of memory elements. In classically good old days, the memory element happened to be a magnetic material where you write a pulse into it. So the state of the magnetization changes, and to read it you send another current signal, so that changes state again and gives you the output. That was a classical first time memory called magnetic memory. So it required beads like this and small size bead. In each bead there is a wire going in for the writing purpose and a wire coming, another wire for the reading purpose. And one bead was only taking one bit of memory. And if you wanted 100 kilobit of memory, you require 10 to the power of 5 such beads. So a memory like 100 kilobit of memory, 100 kilobits I am talking about, memory used to be something of the order of the size of this table. And remember from there where we have come now, in terms of some 60 or 100 gigabyte memory, you can get in a small memory. And first computer which we had in India, 1620, IBM 1620, had only in IIT Kanpur, we were the first to get it. We had a magnetic memory using the beads, and that used to be bigger than this table. Things have changed, then immediately went into tape, magnetic tape, digital magnetic tape, big reels of them. Then the reels have changed into discs. So, a magnetic disc where each point on the magnetic disc is one bit of memory, and a fast rotating head used to read that. And then we graduated now to the present day memory. So, today memory is not a very big issue, a large amount of memory you can have. But remember, each one of those memory elements is a one bit memory basically. And people talk about now bytes, nobody talks about bits, because byte is now defined as equal to 8 bits. So you talk about memory, so many bytes rather than so many bits. So each element has an output Q which is either 1 or a 0. Somewhere by putting an input to it, you have made it into a 1 or a 0, which we call as the state of this memory. Either 1 or a 0 is the state of this memory. So if you have two such elements, this together has a new state which is now 2 bits memory. So it could be either 0 0 or 0 1 or 1 0 or 1 1. This is now called, each one of them is called the state of this memory. So if you have n number of such bits of memory, you will have 2 to the power of n states, right? You have a large number of them, 2 to the power of n states for n number of memories. Putting other way around, if you want a digital machine to have 2 to the power of n states, the number of memory elements required will be n number, which is log of this number to the base 2. That many memory elements will be required. to represent the number of states. State is a machine similar to our X here, and this X is changing depending upon the inputs. So, the dynamics of the state is represented by an equation. Similarly, here, how do the states change with respect to the inputs as well as the previous state? It also governs where it was staying before and what is the input that is given to it changes to a new state. So, similar to our equation x dot is equal to ax plus bu, we have an equation here representing for each one of the memory element or a type of memory element, what is the new state depend upon the previous state and the input. And the memory that we have now does not depend upon the memory the state of this particular element for more than one instant. That means Qn plus 1 will only depend upon the Qn. It will only store one bit, so you cannot store more than one bit. So, each one of these memory elements that we have now changes to a new state depend upon the previous state and the input. Depend upon the way you construct these memory elements using basically gates, what we have described, AND gate, OR gate and so on and so forth, we can make up these memory elements and so in digital circuit we have a varieties of so called memory elements. One memory element is called the SR, and generally these memory elements in this context are known as flip flops. Because a flip flop flips and flaps, right? And when it flips, it is 1, when it flops, it goes back to a 0. So, only two states it can take, either 1 or a 0, depending on what input you have given based on the type of memory it is or the flip flop it is, you get either a 1 or a 0. So, it is called a flip flop. And the word flip flop was actually coined by Eccles Jordan when they know digital circuit, studying two transistors connected with a feedback and found out that one transistor is saturated, other transistor automatically becomes off, and when the other one is saturated, the other one becomes off. And so, we called it flip flop. And that became the storage element as time passed, and the word got carried away called the flip flops. So, all these memory elements in literature, I mean in our digital circuits, we call them as flip flops, because it takes only two states. There are varieties of flip flops. One is called the SR flip flop, set reset flip flop, set and reset. There is another flip flop called the JK flip flop. Do not ask me what J and K stand for, it is just called a JK. I think it is something to do with the Scandinavian language like set and reset, and this was the not Scandinavian, the Dutch language. Philips has developed this JK flip flop based on the SR flip flop, and they call it JK flip flop. And then there is another flip flop called the D flip flop, and the last one is called the T flip flop. I will tell you the characteristics of these four types of flip flops we have in digital circuits: SR flip flop, JK flip flop, and the table representing these flip flops the inputs are S and R, and the state it is sitting in is Qn, and given this input, if this is sitting in this state, what is the new state it will move to, right? This describes your equation y dot is equal to x dot is equal to ax plus bu, equivalent of that. So, sitting in Qn, what is the new Qn plus 1 depending upon what are the S and R you have put in. If S and R are 0 and 0, then Qn will continue to be Qn, meaning that if this is 0 and go to remains as 0, if it is 1, it remains as 1. So sometimes it is, let me explicitly write down 0 as 0, 1 as 1. This is called a hold condition sometimes. So when 0, 0 is applied to it, it holds whatever the state it had before. It doesn't change the state. So 0, 0, 1. The next one will be 0, 1, 0. Okay, 3 Boolean variables here. So there are 8 combinations. For each of this combination, I may define what is the Qn plus 1. So for 2 I have defined. The third one is 0, 1, 0. So if this is 0, this remains 0, and if this is 1, it makes it 0. That is, the Qn plus 1 will be always equal to 0, irrespective of what is Qn, as when the input S and R are 0 and 1. What it means is R defines what is the Qn plus 1, and R makes it the reset, makes the output equal to 0. That means flip-flop is brought back to 0 state, irrespective of what the previous state is.